things that you'll notice, Brian, is the chat and the feed that we have coming through is like virtually real time. There's almost no lag at all. So, Hey everybody, welcome to our webinar today. I'm Steve Dotto here. How the heck are you doing this fine day? And Brian, thanks so much for bringing your community together for us to talk about Evernote.
I am so happy to be here with you. Any chance to be on a webinar, or in any room with you is a chance I'll go with. So thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, Brian and I are a little bit fanboys on each other. We followed each other for a long time and we enjoy each other's company a fair bit. So, we're going to be, so when I reached out to you, I was really excited to hear that you are indeed an Evernote user yourself and that you find it valuable.
Oh man. Yeah. Evernote is, it's my number one tool, I would say, that I use consistently every day. And I wrote my books based on research that I did using Evernote. I've used it traveling. In fact, I just stun my family every time they say, "Do you have something?" And I show them a picture of the passport that they didn't think that I could possibly even pull up in a matter of seconds. So I'm a massive fan of Evernote, and that's not putting it lightly.
It's interesting that you talked about immediately one of the biggest values that Evernote is the ability, like on your phone, to just recall what you stored. So you've developed what I call the Evernote habit. When you find something valuable, you put it in Evernote.
Everything. So links. It's my digital brain. I have the worst memory of all time, and so I store everything, even if I think I'm not going to need it. I put it in there.
That's exactly because you might as well just put it away. So let me just let everybody know what we're going to be doing and kind of welcome everybody in. I see Jeff from San Francisco and Joanne here. Hi. From my team, April is in the room as well. So April will be handling the chat and answering questions as we go along. So this format that I like to share with these webinars is this is a hybrid webinar. Have you ever done a hybrid webinar before?
This is going to be. Maybe I've done one.
Okay.
I've done one.
So let me explain what I mean. What I've done is I pre-recorded the main demo when I talk about what Evernote is. And I take you guys through the beginning of what I call the Evernote Quick Start, which is the fastest way for people to start using Evernote. And I also talk about what Evernote is so people can get the perspective of just where Evernote can fit in their personal productivity system. Because one thing about Evernote, and one thing about each of us, is each of us has our own way of doing things. It's not like we're all starting from square one right at the beginning. And you're like, if you're a business where you're setting up the accounting and everything has to be done the same way for almost all businesses. Every one of us has our own way of getting through the mess that is our business and our personal lives. So Evernote's got to fit into your own way of doing things already. You can't change everything for one tool. So understanding philosophically how Evernote fits, that's crucial, I think. So I take you through that. It's about 26 minutes, but while that is going on, it's pre-recorded. While that's going on, we're going to be in chat answering your questions if there are any questions. And what that does is it increases the information density. So we can answer a lot of the questions quickly and easily in the chat while we're doing that. And then when we come back, we can do a Q&A at the end. So that's how the hybrid format works. And it's one that we use it every week. We do a weekly webinar here at Dotto Tech called Webinar Wednesday, where we do some productivity or content creation tool each and every week. And it's the style I use. I love the fact that I can pre-record the main meat of the demo and then tighten it up so that you aren't struggling and if you aren't having technical issues, etc. So that's the format that we're going to use. Then we've got a Q&A. We will be letting people know we do have a course on Evernote, which we'll be telling you about at the end, which we have a special offer for your community on. But that's basically going to be what you can expect from us today. And any questions you have about Evernote or any concerns you have or any ideas, we'll be able to share those in chat as we go along. Plus, you'll get an idea how Brian uses it, and you'll also obviously get an idea how I use it. So how does that sound?
I'm raring to go, man.
Joanne's on board with us.
This will be fun.
Joanne loves the hybrid method, so that's good. Yeah.
Grant just wrote a book called Grantasm, and so he said time to get ever nutty.
Okay, I don't get that.
Can you give me context? He likes to combine words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If I was sharper, I have to apologize. I am on the I'm on the downward slope of one of the worst colds I've ever had. I went to the doctor thinking I was dying of some sort because I had the flu shot this year, and I thought I was dying of the flu because I was so sick. And he told me, no, it's just a cold. And I thought, what a wimp I am that a common cold could floor me like this. But I'm not sure if you can hear it in my voice. I can certainly feel it. But it just had me on the ropes for like 10 days. It's been so. Anyway, this is my first
Dotto down.
Dotto down. Yeah, I was down. So we'll see. I'm glad that I pre-recorded everything so I can nap during the actual webinar itself. So I think that we've probably got a quorum in the room. So why don't we get going? So here's what's going to happen, Brian. When I start the video running, it'll just remind you that we turn off our video and audio here. But folks, we've not left, even though it's all pre-recorded. We're still here in the room. We'll come back and then we'll get into the Q&A when we come back. So how's that sound? Like a plan? It does indeed. Let us do that then. So let me fire this up and we will see you on the other side of said video. I love teaching this content. Farley, you love I love teaching this content. Farley, you love this content too? Farley loves it too. We both enjoy we both enjoy the Evernote Quick Start, especially because for those of you who followed Dotto Tech for a long time, you know that Evernote has been a big part of our channel for nearly 8 years now. I guess we've been teaching Evernote. It was our first successful videos, our first successful course, which we are now refreshing. And for me, Evernote has been a tool that I've used for nearly a decade, and which has become the heart of my productivity system. We went through some rough patches, especially last year, when we weren't sure about the direction that Evernote was going. But at the end of the day, our investment in Evernote was so profound that we weathered this storm, and then we think we've come out on the other side. So this is my Evernote Quick Start Guide. And this guide grew out of having many conversations with individuals who had started using Evernote, but stopped for a variety of reasons. You could consider them backslidden Evernote users. They recognize the value that Evernote represents. They understand what it could do for them, but they were never able to entrench it in their own system. Now, for some people, it's not a tool that's going to work. But for most people, I think it's because they start out with unreasonable expectations and they set basically too high a bar for themselves with Evernote. So this quick start guide that we're going to go through right now, which is going to be a compressed version of a mini course that we've put together, which is now our lead lesson in our newest version of our Evernote course. This quick start guide simplifies things for us and gets us all started on the right foot. And the biggest key is it gets you starting to use Evernote and getting comfortable with Evernote with a very limited feature set that is going to be the most valuable to you. So let me take you through it. And we're going to start with making sure that we're all on the same page about what Evernote is. But understanding what Evernote is strategically is important. And people call it a notebook application, a productivity application. I call Evernote my digital bank account. And why do I call it my digital bank account? Because just like your real bank account, Evernote is where we store valuable content. In this case, it's all our little bits of data, all of the information, the notes, the ideas, the thoughts, the documents, the receipts, the recipes, the different valuable pieces of information that we have. And just like your real bank account, the more that we invest in to our Evernote account, the more valuable our account is. A bank account that has $10 in it is not too valuable, but a bank account that has your entire net worth in it, that is incredibly valuable. So the more information that we store in Evernote, the more value we find. And just like a real bank account or an investment account, at the beginning you've invested a little bit, you're not going to get the return on investment until you have enough value in the entire account. So if you start out with Evernote and you, over a year or 2 years, pour all of the information that you can store in Evernote there, well, all of a sudden you've got a very, very valuable amount of content available to you, which is one of the reasons that so many of us stuck through Evernote through this tough time they just had, because we recognize how much value the data that we have stored in Evernote has. And although we could theoretically move it out of Evernote into another place, that was an arduous task. But the value of all of the information and all of the history that I have in Evernote makes my Evernote account the most valuable digital asset that I own. It's all got all of my business ideas, all of my thoughts, all of my receipts, all of my accounting information. It all lives there in Evernote. So that I've now accrued incredible value in that digital bank account. And we recognize that value. It pays off when you go to make a withdrawal, just like in real life. So that when you go into your Evernote account and you go, I need information on this. This was a year ago that we did something on this. Let me find the document. Look, I'm doing like I'm on my thumb, I'm on my phone. But when we go and you pull up the document, you pull up the information, and when Evernote surfaces that valuable information to you, that's when you recognize the value of Evernote. And that's when you are then recognizing the value of your investment in Evernote. So understanding that over time you're going to pour much energy and much content into Evernote, that is really important for us to start with. Now, so once we've got Evernote established now as our digital bank account, let's talk about the basis of the quick start. When you set up an Evernote account, you are brought in and you're given a simple notebook, just a blank notebook that you could create new notes for, you can create new documents for. And this is the point, I think, this is the point when we're all full of energy and excitement about what Evernote is, that most of us get off the rails with Evernote. And we actually sow the seeds for failure right in those first moments. And why would I say that? Because we see the potential of Evernote. We see how much it can mean to us. So we think that with great power must require great structure, to kind of paraphrase the comic book, the comic book tagline. But because we could do so much with Evernote, and because in our history, in our experience, say with our computer, when we set up a computer and we set up a filing system where we store all of our information and our data, historically we've had to set up a really robust infrastructure in order to find and retrieve all of that data that's in on our computer hard drive. So we need folders, and we need directories, and we need folders within folders, and we need a naming nomenclature, and we need all of these things for the old school way of storing information, which is really based on a physical world filing cabinet metaphor where we have files and folders and names, and that's how we search. Because we often will search visually by navigating our way into folders rather than using search. That is yesterday. Today, we rely on search more than any other way to find the information that we need to find. And Evernote is based on search. So Evernote actually has a fairly flat infrastructure as far as its hierarchy goes. We can have notebooks, we can have stacks of notebooks, and we can have notes. We only have 3 data types, and we can't nest information. We can't nest folders one within the other. We can't have accounting, 2010, January, and then week 1, and then customer invoices, all in this hierarchical list of folders the way that we did in the past. But we try, when we start out in Evernote, we try and imagine that infrastructure and apply it into Evernote. So the seeds of our demise are sown by us overcomplicating things in Evernote. So one of the key premises of the Evernote Quick Start, of getting started successfully in Evernote, is don't overthink things. Keep it simple. As a matter of fact, what I recommend as a part of the Evernote Quick Start is that you don't create any notebooks at all. You only use the default notebook that Evernote gives you at the beginning for the first weeks or even months that you're using Evernote. It's not until you have a lot of information in and you start to be able to really define that information that you start parsing out the information into different notebooks and start to add some sort of file structure to, or organizational structure to Evernote. And I know that seems counterintuitive, and it flies in the face of the energy that we have when we start with Evernote. But it is the best way to go, because we can rely on Evernote to deliver all of the information we need through search, so that we don't actually need that infrastructure. And by not having that infrastructure, we aren't overthinking things, and we are just doing what we should be doing, which is saving valuable information into Evernote. So that is rule number 1 of the Quick Start Guide. Do not overthink things. Don't create any infrastructure at all. Just create an account and then start with 2 types of notes. And this is the magic part of the Evernote Quick Start Guide. This is what you can take to the bank. I have 2 notes that I want you to start with when you begin with Evernote to create in order for you to start to recognize the value of Evernote. of Evernote. And I call those note types starter notes and anchor notes. Now, starter notes are what we'll begin with. And starter notes are notes that we create which are catch-all documents for things that we need access to in the future. And I'll give you some examples because it'll make a lot more sense as soon as I give you the examples. In everybody's home, we've got a variety of different things that need to be replaced from time to time. Water filters, furnace filters, light bulbs, different types of batteries. We've got all of these different things that are in our house that we occasionally have to replace. And but if you're at the hardware store and it's fall and you think, wow, I haven't changed my furnace filter since last winter, I should change it since the furnace is going to be kicking on within a couple of days or within a couple of weeks, I think I'll buy myself a furnace filter. But can you remember the size of your furnace filter? Of course you can't. Nobody can. I can't. What I recommend we do with our starter notes is go and take a picture of your furnace filter and store it in Evernote. Take a picture of the water filter that's underneath your sink or in your fridge and store it in Evernote. Take a picture of the model number of your range and of your stove and of your microwave and of your fridge and of your dishwasher and of your dryer and of your washing machine, of all of the different appliances in your house. Take a picture of the battery, of the special battery that happens to be in your smoke detector, and then add the date that you changed it to that document. Create a document that has all of the different pieces of things around your house that you may have to replace at some time. And this is a prime example of Evernote as a digital bank account. You make the investment in the future. You put these documents in, you put this information in a document, and then it sits there for months or even years before you need it. But when you need it, it's there. So when you're at the hardware store and you decide to get the furnace filter, you don't have to call home and have your wife check or husband check the furnace filter or drive home and take a look and then go back and pick it up next time you're at the hardware store. No, no, no. You have all of that information available to you the instant that you're there. If your dishwasher is broken down and you call the dishwasher repair place and they say, what model dishwasher do you have? And you're sitting there and I got to go and you got to go to the dishwasher and look it up. No, you just look it up on your phone. Every time you make a withdrawal of the information from your starter notes, you recognize the value of Evernote. Now, we have a collection of starter notes which we're going to share with you, which is part of our Evernote Quick Start Guide. But I would love to hear from you ideas in the chat of additional starter notes other than the list that you see here that we're starting with. And we will send out this list to all of you in the follow-up email after today's webinar, so that you have access to it. But for personal relationships, what's your spouse's ring size and favorite scent? What's their dress size or their shirt size or their shoe size, so that you can purchase gifts for them or replenish supplies? All of these kind of things go into the starter notes. So you can have this collection of starter notes. Additionally, use the Evernote camera rather than just typing in information. When I was saying take pictures of the model number of all of your appliances, just go around, open the door of the dryer, find the plate which has the model number and the serial number and all of that stuff, and take a picture. Use the camera, which stores the image then in Evernote. That is tip number 1. Starter notes, be absolutely brilliant. The second type of note that I recommend you create are notes called anchor notes, that I call anchor notes. And anchor notes are, again, catch-all documents that I use, that you can use, that are all topic related. So when I'm starting a new video, writing a new video, I'll create an anchor note for that video, and I will pour all of the information into that note. I will clip information from the web into that note. I will write into that note. I'll take pictures and incorporate that. I'll add text from emails into that note so that it's a one catch-all document that has everything I need around that particular. And with Liz when she's on the call, you see, between these two types of documents, you're then starting to think about using Evernote, saving information regularly in Evernote, but most importantly, at some point in the future, being able to withdraw this information from Evernote because you know exactly where to look. instead of having, all of the URLs for all of your affiliate programs in multiple places or in multiple documents where you have to go into Google Docs or you have to go into some other place. No, you know that it all lives within Evernote, so you can access it in Evernote. Now, one thing I'll say about Anchor Notes, they're not pretty documents. They're not really designed for public consumption. They aren't beautifully designed web pages that Liz goes through and formats and all of that sort of stuff. They're messy shoeboxes that I've got all of the information in that I need. And it's quite often the formatting looks like crap because I've copied and pasted things with different fonts, etc., all into Evernote. But they work for me. And these are living documents that I continually am adding to and withdrawing from. So I've got a series of the Anchor Notes, and you can think about having a series of your own. Upcoming webinars, upcoming information. If you're writing a book, you'd start with one document that is all of your ideas about the book, and then you start writing little snippets of the book. Before you know it, you might break that document into multiple documents around the different chapters before you actually start writing it. But it's your research document that all of the information goes in so that you know where to look when you need that information. So those are the two keys to Evernote as far as the Evernote Quick Start Guide is creating those two types of notes. Now, set against that, we have a couple of different techniques that we use within Evernote that I need you to start with right away in order to collect information into Evernote, because one of the most important aspects of the Evernote Quick Start is for you to develop what I call the Evernote habit, which is whenever I find anything which is valuable, my initial reaction is to save it in Evernote because I know I will find it again in Evernote. That habit, that initial reaction of saving information into Evernote is once you've developed the Evernote habit, you are then able to really take full advantage of all that Evernote is, and it will become your digital bank account at the core of your personal productivity system. So the first thing that you need to master as far as that goes is the brilliant Evernote web clipper, and nobody has done the web clipper better. Let me show you from our full-on Evernote Quick Start Guide a quick demo of the Evernote web clipper. Now, without question, one of the most valuable tools that Evernote gives us for collecting information into our Evernote account is called the Evernote Web Clipper. It's a browser plugin that plugs into all the mainstream browsers and allows you to vacuum information from the internet and store it automatically into your Evernote account. And it is a genius. Now, lots of different tools have web clippers attached, but nobody does it quite as well as the Evernote web clipper. And as Evernote becomes a major player in your life, you will, just by second nature, start using the Evernote web clipper to grab pieces of information and store them that you might need in the future. Things like storing bookmarks for websites will become a thing of the past because the Evernote web clipper will do a far better job than you were ever able to do using any other process for collecting information you find online. So let me show you an example of how it works in my life. So as I daily do research. I'm reading new articles for new stories, and here I'm reading about Apple's new MacBook Pro, the 16-inch MacBook Pro. And as I browse through that information, I might want to store this as a basis or some idea for a video. Now, in the past, how would I have stored this information? I probably could have copied the URL and placed it in a document somewhere, or copied the text and created a new text document with it. But using the Evernote web clipper, I just go here into my browser window where I've got the Evernote web clipper installed, click on it, which invokes the Evernote web clipper, and out pops this tool, which is, as I say, a bit of a stroke of genius. This tells me all of the different ways that I can save the data that it finds on this web page. I can save it as a simplified article. And watch what happens if I select each one. As I go to simplified article, it strips out all of the extra information, all of the sidebar, all of the advertising, and just saves the main information from the screen for me. So often, as you saw, where there was ads on the page, it will strip that out. It'll also save just the article, which is going to leave out header information and etc. So it even strips down the information that much more accurately. I can save the full page, which is going to include the headers, and it's going to include the ads that are running on the side. And all of that information will be stored when I clip it, or I can just save as a bookmark, which is going to be whatever the author's description is of the web page plus a URL. So if you just need if you want to keep it very small and you just want to store it as a URL, using it as a bookmark, you've got it like that. Or I can also save it as a screenshot. Now, what a screenshot will do is it'll allow me to clip the information that as we see on the screen and then allow me to mark it up and annotate it, like saying, this is an interesting pop-up over here, and what are we doing over here? So this is especially useful if you are a web developer and you're giving feedback to your graphics people on how a page looks or identifying problems. The screenshot mechanism and the annotation is terrific for marking things up. Now, once you've decided how you want to save the information, then you get to choose where you want to save the information. Now, because this is a new demo account, I just have my one notebook available to me. But in my main account, I have demo notebooks. I've got a variety of different places that I can store the information as well. You can also add tags to it so that you can classify the information as you're saving it to your Evernote account. For example, I have a demo tag that I use that identifies all of the content that I might want to use when I create demos for my main channel. Once you've decided on all of these things, you click Save, and it grabs and processes that information and saves it across into your Evernote account. So let's go over and take a look. Here's my Evernote account that we've just created, the brand new one, and there is the note that we just saved with the information available to us. So that is the Evernote Web Clipper. It will become second nature to you to use the Evernote Web Clipper whenever you see anything that you might want access to in the future. And again, it's a very easy way for you to invest more into the equity of your Evernote account. That digital bank account becomes more and more valuable as you gather information that's valuable to you in your Evernote account. The other aspect of Evernote that's part of the Evernote habit is learning to collect information and retrieve information from your mobile device. So again, let me go to our main Evernote Quick Start Guide and play you a short video on Evernote in mobility. Let's spend a few minutes and let me talk to you about your smartphone version, your mobility version of Evernote, because it does look quite a bit different than it does on the desktop, but all of the same functionality is there, regardless if you're an Android or if you're in iOS. But I should warn you that those two versions are constantly leapfrogging each other as far as the functionality is concerned. So some features that are in one might not be released in others, but they will be in the next rev as Evernote kind of seesaws back and forth between the two applications. Now, when there's two ways that I think that the mobility version of the Evernote really comes to fore. The first is through search. When you are, again, out looking about, your starter notes become very valuable here, but other things like recipes, like if I'm out shopping and I have to cook chili tonight, I say, what's in my recipe? Can't remember all of the things. I just go into search here, and I always have my chili recipe available to me. I go in and I search for that, find the document right away, and there is my amazing chili recipe that we use over and over again. By the way, this is really, really good chili, but just so I can remember to make sure I have all of the spices and all of the ingredients so that I can cook it for the family. Getting access to your information when you're on the road, ever so valuable. The other incredibly valuable part of using the mobility tool is the ability to create content when you're on the road. And that is, we just click on the plus. And if you click and hold on the plus sign, I can create an audio note, I can create a photo, or I can create a reminder. The photo is really appealing because using the digital camera, we can use it to gather information and collect information from napkins that we're writing on or whiteboards that somebody is working on, or as I showed you earlier, going around taking pictures of the model number and the registration numbers of your appliances. So that alone is very valuable. But my favorite way to collect information on the road when I'm using Evernote is to take advantage of the outstanding voice recognition characteristics built into the iPhone, and the Android phones have the same capability. I create a new note, and instead of typing in a note, I hit on the microphone button here on the keyboard, and I am able to dictate notes when I'm on the road. This is fantastic for capturing ideas that I can then move over into starter notes or into anchor notes. I use this to often write emails that I will then later on move across that I want to edit before I actually send them to individuals. capture meetings, lots of different ways that this works. And oh my gosh, the voice recognition is ever so accurate. Now, I don't know if it's so accurate because I have such a neutral accent. I suspect that's a part of it. And so if you have a heavy accent, it might not work as well for you. But this ability to be able to dictate into Evernote, winner, chicken dinner as far as I'm concerned. But even if you can't do this, you can still use the recording capability and record an audio note that you can listen to later on as well. All of that happens in the Evernote mobile app, which is why I look at it as a kind of like a vacuum cleaner for information when I'm not in my office. I know that a lot of times when we start to learn to use an application, for somebody like me to sit here and say, do less, don't invest as much time in learning and creating an infrastructure and investing in the overall format of the tool, but instead just concentrate on pouring content into the tool, it might seem like a bit of a shortcut. And you might think that it means that you're kind of undermining your future with an application. I believe with Evernote that the opposite is true, that pouring more information into Evernote and just using it as a bin and being almost kind of sloppy about things at the very beginning and just storing everything in a single notebook is the way to go, because you've got to learn to trust Evernote Search, which is the way we'll ultimately find all of the documents, and you've got to develop the habit of just putting stuff into Evernote so that you build the value of that digital bank account. And that is really what the Evernote Quick Start Guide is about. If you follow the rules of the Evernote Quick Start Guide, I believe that you're giving yourself the best chance for making Evernote work for your future. Now, I am really looking forward to the Q&A today. Did you learn something new, Farley? Not really. So, Brian, you can fire up your mic and your camera again and we can get back. So how was that, guys? Did you enjoy that? What do you think, Brian?
Oh, that was great. That was great.
It's a good overview, isn't it?
Yeah. My favorite part, and I subscribe to it, is just keep it simple. The one notebook. I really love that. I have two, but I when I first got started, I ended up having I don't know, like 17 or 20, and I just thought, oh, let's get really organized, and then I ended up not using the entire thing, and it blew me away. Yeah.
Over the years, because my Evernote account has been used so often as an example, as I've developed the course that we're going to be talking about today, we're in the 4th version. So I didn't come up with this technique of using Evernote this way until about 1.5 or 2 years ago with the last version of the course. Before that, we taught people to create structure and all of those sorts of things. But I was always frustrated with how people failed. And I recognized the overcomplication. And there's some great sophisticated systems. Don't get me wrong. If you use Evernote, Michael Hyatt has a wonderful blog post on how he has this structure of incorporating tags and this organizational structure, which is ever so well thought out and it just brilliant. But it's not the way that I would ever live my life. And I just set myself up for failure if I try and do that. I'm just too fly by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
So consequently, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to stop flying by the seat of my pants. So the tool has to work for me, flying by the seat of my pants. And that's when I kind of started to come up with these anchor note ideas and starter note ideas and this way of using Evernote this way, the way that works for me.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, I used Michael Hyatt's system to develop those two. So I have an inbox and an archive. And everything goes to the inbox, and then I process it to the archive, and so it kind of keeps me sane for why did I put this into Evernote? I do want to see something again before I put it away forever and one day need it 5 years from now, maybe not. So that's that's an interesting one, but then again, sometimes I stack it all up in the inbox and I just end up dragging the whole thing over. So
yeah, kind of like email bankruptcy. Just clear it all out, and then you're on to the next thing. And that's but as I said, that's each of us has our own technique and our own style for using it. There's a couple of benefits. Two that we didn't mention in that video. One is the amount of time that you end up saving by only going to one place to look for everything. We're not saying, is this an email? Did I save this in Google Docs? Did I save it somewhere else? So that is a huge time vampire when we bounce around looking for things. If we get in the habit of saving it in Evernote, we go to Evernote. That's number one. Number two is there's a real reduction in stress in two places. The first place that there's a reduction in stress is when you see something valuable. We've all got this anxiety all of a sudden that says, ooh, I'm going to want this again. I know it's going to be valuable. Where can I hide it? It's like my dog when I give him a pig's ear, you know, one of those pig's ears, he gets all anxious because he goes, I have to bury this somewhere. He doesn't have access to bury it anywhere. He goes, I got to hide it somewhere so that I can get back to it in the future. And he literally gets anxious if I give him one of these like dried out pig's ears to chew on because it's so valuable, but he doesn't want to do it all now. But where can he hide it so he can get to it in the future? It's quite humorous, but that is an anxiety that happens to us.
Sure.
And secondly, when we say, oh, I need something, where was that? No, Evernote, search. And then sometimes you have to do a couple of searches because you have to figure out what the exact syntax is, but it's there. You can find it. So that's where the stress reduction comes along.
That happens to me all the time. I'm in a grocery store and an idea comes up. Content comes to me while I'm exercising all the time. But I can't sit there and write the whole thing out. So I just need to remember the idea. So I just go in Evernote, put it in there, boom, it's done, and I can move on. And it feels so good to be able to trust that it's going to sit somewhere.
Do you use dictation?
I do. Sometimes I use dictation, and then sometimes I just type the title of whatever it is and just save it as a note. And then I've got a note that's just blogging ideas, and it's massively long. And sometimes I just have fun and I go in and see what do I want to write today, and then I just pick from my my past history.
You're on an iPhone?
I am, yeah.
So you can set up a Siri shortcut to just say, tell Siri to create an Evernote, and so you can use dictation that way there as well.
That's a great idea. I love that. I'm going to do that.
So you don't even have to pick up the phone. You can just, if you got earbuds, just double tap over for Siri and tell it. Yeah. So that's a little tip for you.
Thank you.
And by the way, somebody gave us an extra. So we'll be sending out to everybody my Evernote Quick Start Guide, that starter note guide, and we're always adding to it. And one of your people mentioned adding all of your credit card 1-800 numbers, which I just added to the list. So this is a growing list of starter note ideas. I added something yesterday to the starter note guide because I'm always coming up with new ideas. In our complex here, we've got key fobs for opening the garage door, and they've all got codes on the inside. So if you lose your key fob, you need to know the code to get it back. And I think car key fobs have them too. So I added that to the list. You take a picture of your car key fob or serial number, so that if you lose your key fob, you can order the replacement that's going to be coded properly.
Yeah.
So just another idea. There's so many good ideas.
I also forward because I use the email address, so I forward emails into it quite often. And then I'll save all my warranties. So every time I buy a new product, the warranty goes right into Evernote. So the purchase, the information around when I buy something, because you never, a year later, you're always scratching your head looking for the information on that product that you just bought.
Every subscription I buy of any product, like any serial number, etc., it goes in directly into Evernote right away, so that when I have to renew, sometimes you have to reinstall, all of that is there as well. So those are just, we could sit here and we could talk about these ideas today, and people are adding. So that is terrific. So let me just fill in. Somebody mentioned Rocketbook. Joanne, I'm a big lover of paper and pen. I use my Rocketbook to upload notes to Evernote all the time. I use the Rocketbook as well. That's Rocketbook, great. Have you seen the Rocketbook, Brian?
I've heard of it. I haven't used it.
Oh, it'll blow your mind. So Rocketbook, well, I've got a video on it on YouTube. April, could you grab the video and drop it into the link so people can watch it later? It's my favorite product of the year. Rocketbook is a erasable notebook, so you can just erase it with water, like a pen and like a damp rag. But each page has a little icon down at the bottom. And when you tick off the icon and you use the Rocketbook app, you take a picture, and Rocketbook will send that note to whatever source you want. And Evernote is one of the sources. You can also send those notes directly to email. It'll convert those notes into text. But it is a terrific way to import information into Evernote from handwritten notes. If people like to write handwritten. So it's we actually include it in the description of it in the course as well. But one thing before I go to the next thing, which I wanted to talk, telling people about the course, is you mentioned that you email your notes into Evernote all the time.
Yeah.
That is one of the features that is in the premium version of Evernote. So you've decided to purchase the premium version. And we actually cover that in the Evernote Quick Start Guide, where you determine where you have to purchase Evernote and where you can stay with the free version. But that's one of the tipping points for needing the free version, is taking advantage of the emailing into Evernote, that feature as well. Yeah, Christy says her son used it in college for taking notes and then being able to share them with others. It's it is a fantastic system for that. We're talking about the Rocketbook now. I just love the Rocketbook. There it is.
I'm gonna go get one today.
Yeah. Use my April. Drop in our affiliate link, please. Yeah, I'm an affiliate. It's. I love the product. We've been promoting it now for about 4 or 5. It's my product of the year. It's my favorite product of the year from last year.
So David just asked, sorry if this has been covered, but does it take handwritten notations and store as text?
Yeah, both Rocketbook and Evernote. So Evernote will convert anything in an image that it can parse out as text into searchable text. So like if you go through and you take pictures of wine labels, right? And then you do a search for wine, every time the word wine is, it'll pull up all of those images from the word wine in the label. It's fantastic.
As well as handwriting too. So if you're using the iPad, it's going to search that too, right?
Yeah. Now there's a couple of ways to get text into Evernote from the iPad. The iPad itself, Evernote has their own app, which is what's called. I'm having a brain fart. This is the cold catching up to me. Just a minute. Let me call up my iPad here and look at my notes because I test them all. They have their own notepad. Penultimate is one that syncs directly with Evernote. But all of the ones that I've tested, Notability, Note Shelf, they all have the ability for you to be able to save your notes into a notebook in Evernote directly. And then for Evernote to be able to search on those notes, it has to convert them into PDFs. So they aren't editable as written documents once they're imported into Evernote, but they're searchable once they're in Evernote.
Wow.
Yeah. So it works really well from that perspective. So let me ask you to humor me for a moment, because we also have a commercial purpose to this particular webinar. Is we are selling the new version of our course, which we just launched last month. So Evernote Made Easy version 4.0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run one more video, Brian. I'm going to get you to shut down your camera and when we go in. This is just a little 4-minute video which talks to you folks about what is in the course, which we will give you a special offer for in just a few moments. So this is our Evernote Made Easy course. Now, I recorded this yesterday when I was still sick, so I'm not sure how I'm going to sound. I'm not sure if my head was full of cotton. So let's just see how this comes out. It could be an adventure for us all. Now in its fourth version, we have put over 1,700 students through Evernote Made Easy, and for most of them, it has become an invaluable resource in setting the stage for them to integrate Evernote in their own personal productivity system. So what happens within the course? The course is, as I say, broken into 10 modules, starting with the detailed Evernote Quick Start, what we've been covering today, but going into far more detail and getting you started using Evernote in the quickest and most efficient method. Lesson 2 is all about the Evernote habit, getting into the space where you rely on Evernote as your digital brain and you start building the relationship with Evernote that you're going to need to move forward. Part of the Evernote habit is making sure that everything that you find of value that you want to store for the future, you put in Evernote, and then also getting in the habit of looking into Evernote to find what it is you're looking for. That relationship is really the magic sauce that makes Evernote work for us. The third lesson is Evernote in mobile. Oh my goodness, your smartphone is such an important asset for you in using Evernote, for using it as a resource to be able to find everything by syncing up with Evernote, finding all of the notes that you're looking for when you're traveling, but also as a capture device, using both the Evernote camera and other input devices to be able to create additional content for Evernote. your mobile device is just an integral part of the entire process. Then we'll start to get into the actual structure of Evernote in lesson 4, where we're talking about building your own Evernote structure. All of us are, even though we do recommend that you start with such a minimalistic structure setup, we do all desire to apply some form of structure to Evernote. It's just in human DNA. So we'll talk about the best methods and the best systems for applying structure. And that includes a naming nomenclature for your notebooks, and also the possibility of you using tags, which are a wonderful context-based search feature that's built into Evernote. Then we move on to the sharing and collaboration lesson, where we use Evernote not just as a personal device, but also one that we can use in a team-based metaphor. We here at Dottotech use Evernote a lot as a part of our team communications, and there's a lot of different and very creative and simple ways that you can use Evernote for sharing and collaboration as well. We will cover those in the 5th lesson. Lesson 6 is mastering Evernote search, and that is such an important skill that we dedicate an entire lesson to it, because as you start to pour more and more information into Evernote, quick and effective retrieval of that information is essential, and you will learn how to do that through our search module. Now, no app is an island, and Evernote is certainly not an island in of itself, and it integrates with other productivity and business apps in a wide variety of ways. In the Evernote integration lesson, we're going to talk to you about what to look for in apps and how to integrate Evernote into the other aspects of your business and personal life. Evernote integration. Of course, we always have to be concerned with backing up and archiving our data, so we dedicated an entire lesson to backup and archive and security, making sure that both you keep your information private and secure. Finally, the last 2 lessons are Evernote on our tablet, which is Evernote is a notebook, and increasingly we're using our tablets more and more. Smart tablets. I have an iPad Pro, and using Evernote on the iPad Pro is a little bit different than using it in mobile, and it really opens some new doors and creative ways to use Evernote. So we focus on Evernote on your tablet in lesson 9, and finally Evernote as a publishing platform. The great secret of Evernote is what an effective publishing platform it can become for creating blog posts or publishing content into both social and web-based areas. And we cover that in our 10th lesson. Well before that 10th lesson, however, you're going to recognize whether or not Evernote is the right tool for you. And if it is the right tool for you, if it is going to work for you, then we will have given you the skills you need to make Evernote the best productivity tool that you've ever used. That is our promise. Go. So that is our Evernote Made Easy version 4 course, which was the purpose of this webinar today to help promote that course. And we have a special offer for Brian's community, which April's going to share in the link below. But the normal price for the course is $199, but for Brian's community, we've got a special offer of $169. We take $30 off. We set a limited time on the offer of 4 days, so there'll be a couple of emails to follow up that you can take advantage of it. There's a money-back guarantee, a 30-day money-back guarantee on our course as well. There's a terrific Facebook group, which as you start getting into using Evernote more and more, the Facebook group people just come up with creative ideas all the time. That's one thing that amazes me, Brian, is every time I do one of these webinars, every single time somebody comes up with a new idea of something that I hadn't thought of for using Evernote. It's amazing. And I do a lot of these webinars.
Which was the one that you got today?
The 1-800 numbers, adding the 1-800 numbers to it.
Yeah.
Is one of the ideas, the idea that I got today. That, and as a matter of fact, I've already added that to our to the starter note kit. I typed it in while we were talking.
Well, for me, it was the Rocket Book and using Siri to jot a note. That's great. There was a question before. I know I'm supposed to be doing my sales pitch here, but I'd rather answer questions. Brad was asking about the Rocket Book. Brad, the key to the Rocket Book is going into the Rocket Book app on your smartphone and then setting up the destinations. I think they're called destinations. Let me just take a look while I'm speaking. Rocket Book. Let me just open it here. There's Rocket Book. They call them. Sorry, I'm already following me on social. Here we go. When you go into configuration,
Yeah, they're destinations that they call them. Yeah, and when you set up destinations, each of the little icons down at the bottom of the page that you cross out can be set up as a destination. But you can demarc exactly what notebook the note goes in. Now you can ask Rocketbook to parse out the text and convert it to text beforehand, which might be a solution. Or once it's stored in Evernote, Evernote will automatically go through and crawl through that information. It takes it a few hours, but after a few hours, it becomes searchable text within Evernote. So you really don't have to do anything to make it searchable once it's in Evernote. But really, it's determining what structure, where you want it to go. And a lot of people just set up a Rocketbook notebook within Evernote as a book, so as a place to store all those notes. And then you can go in there and you can move them into other notebooks if you want later on, if you choose to. So that's the way that would work, I would say, would be the best for it. So yeah, and April's filling in all the information about the course. So about the course. So yeah, you'll get a couple of emails from me following up. There will be a replay of this going out, and we have 4 days from now, which I can't do the math. What's the date today?
Friday.
It's the 6th. Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So by Tuesday, you'll have to make the decision on whether or not you want to take the course. But I hope that some of your people join us and become part of the community. That would be awesome. As well, you will be getting one email because you signed up for this webinar. We will send you the follow-up emails promoting the course, but I haven't added you to our main email list. But if any of your people want to join us and found that the tutorial side of today's webinar was valuable, well, we do a weekly webinar called Webinar Wednesday here at Dottotech almost each and every week, which is very seldom sales, always teaching focused. And we encourage you to sign up for our main email list. So there'll be several times in this entire process where you can sign up for our main email list so you get our newsletter, so you hear about Webinar Wednesday. Tomorrow's Webinar Wednesday, I'll put the link in right now, is we're going to be talking about financial apps for the new year. As everybody's New Year resolution, they all talk about losing weight. How about saving some money? And so we're going to be looking at different financial apps and tools that we use, ideas for that. So we encourage you to sign up for that and go on. So I just wanted to let everybody know that although you will get a few emails from me, unless you have signed up for our main email list, once we're done with this promoting the course, you won't hear from us again unless you choose to allow us to.
So Mark has a great question. Do you have any tips for cleaning up Evernote to start using it more effectively? I'll tell you what I did, and maybe you can correct me. The biggest thing that I did is I just made one notebook. I went into all my other notebooks and just moved everything into that one notebook, and then I deleted all the notebooks. That was like a cleansing that I did. I want to say it was about 3 years ago, and I've never looked back. And then I know you're going to go through this in your course, but I'm a massive advocate for using tags. So I tag everything, and that's how I find most of my stuff. If I need to group stuff together, like if I do 17 interviews with 17 different people around one topic, I'll just tag all 17 people and the notes for that, the same tag. And then that way I can just go search by tag, and it pulls up all 17 interviews. So it's a much cleaner, healthier way, but I wouldn't suggest going back and tagging. If you have massive amounts of notes and you're just, and it's going to hold you up, just move it all into one notebook and get going. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah. It's exactly what I was going to say, is move it into an archive. And then as you search for things and pull them out, you might want to pull them into another notebook. But if you've created a whole bunch of notes already, you have an idea of a basic structure that might work for you. You might a lot of people go 4 notebooks, which is an inbox, a personal, a business, and an archive. That's a way to go. The logical structure, that's a nice minimalist view of things. But then using the tags, as you said, as you kind of slowly add them as you go. I'm not a huge fan of tags because I tend to be not disciplined as far as my application of tags goes. So instead, I tend to use more notebooks. This is my own personal structure. So I actually have a fair number of notebooks, but they all make sense and they're all used. But the idea of tags adds context to those notes, and it's a very powerful way, and probably, technically speaking, the most powerful way to use Evernote as far as organizing. But for you, kind of refreshing and kind of getting back in, move everything into an archive, and then create the notebooks that you want, or the structure that you want. And then as you find those notes, if they aren't designated for that structure, apply that designation as you find those notes, so you can find them again in the future. The other real key is the sidebar. As when you're in the desktop version, having that sidebar of having what notes, kind of a quick pick area. That's a big part of the Evernote Quick Start Guide, is having all of your starter notes either in a notebook or as individual notes in the sidebar, so you can visually navigate and you don't have to search for them to go to those notes. And I use that for all of my anchor notes. The current projects are always at the top of my sidebar, so I can just go over, and when I'm working on a new course, that course is always there. Any promotions there, it's very easy for me to get to those, to get to my anchor notes anytime I need them. So we have some other questions here. Brad commented saying Chris Brogan did a webinar on Evernote, and he's a proponent of not using a lot of notebooks. Instead, he uses notes and searches the way he needs to instead of going to Notebook Thoughts. Personal. It's exactly what we just discussed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Chris is a bright guy. His mind is going a mile a minute. So tags work for him. I get that. Yeah. Cleaning up. So the questions we have here, just going through. Joanne says, my file structure always include to do, to pay, to read, and to file. See, that's how Joanne's mind works. And that's great. That's good to see. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. That's excellent. All right. I think, we're just closing in on the hour. I like to keep these to about an hour. I think we've covered everything. So just so you folks know what's coming, there'll be a replay of this video will be sent out to you shortly after it's from Demio. We will also send you a follow-up email ourselves. Brian might be sending you a follow-up email as well, but we'll include all of the links. I'll get April to drop. Well, she has dropped the sales code in for you to save $30, which you can, of course, share with your friends as well, should you choose to share with any friends and encourage them. Those of you who are interested, please join us for webinar Wednesday tomorrow on our payments, are looking at financial tools. What have we got coming up? I'll just give a quick tease of what's coming up after that. We're doing financial tools this week. Let me go to my webinars here. Next week we have, it's going to be more on productivity. Mike Vardy and Eric Fisher join us for Productivity Outlook.
Oh, cool.
And then on the January 22nd, what is a side hustle? Talking about reinventing yourself. And then, I'm looking forward to the one on the 17th, on the end of the month. I'm going to ask my community to, with me as one, declare email bankruptcy and how to do so. Because most bankruptcy is bad. Email bankruptcy is good. It empties out all of those cluttered inboxes that so many of us have. And it's a great way to kind of refresh. And so at the end of January, it'll be a great time to do that. So those are our upcoming 4 webinars, which you're more than welcome to join us for. Brian, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Oh, it's been so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing this with everybody. And I'm looking forward. I got a few things now I'm going to go purchase and do and set up. So I really appreciate it, especially this time of year.
Well, you've got a whole new house to document as far as your starter notes.
I do. I've been walking around and taking pictures of all kinds of stuff. So and new furniture came in, and it's been fun to get set up and use it.
Go and take a nameplate picture of all of the appliances.
Oh, good.
That's so valuable.
Yeah, right.
So valuable.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's it's been fun moving. Not the active moving, but getting into the house has been fun.
Yeah. Well, it certainly keeps you busy. It was a pleasure meeting you all. You guys are a great community. Brian, as I expected, I knew your people would be engaged. So I thank you all for the time, and I thank you for trusting me to share my stuff with your community.
Well, thank you. And everyone, thank you so much for joining. I hope you got as much out of it as I did. And we will talk to you guys soon.
Till next time, folks. Have fun storming the castle.